everyone, welcome back to my channel. In case you're new to my channel, my name is Kayla and I do mostly book videos, but I also like to include some homeschool stuff and some like animal stuff because we do have goats and chickens and things like that. So that's the kind of stuff that you'll usually find on my channel. Today I want to share a homeschool update. We started homeschooling this year. We started sort of like our official back to school homeschooling in August, I believe. We kind of did some light stuff throughout the summer, but I showed our curriculum choices in August, and that's when we really started diving into some of the newer things that I had bought and picked out. So today I'm just going to give an update on the stuff we've been using and the stuff we've been doing and what's been working and what's maybe not been working. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get into this pile next to me. Now first I want to talk about the story of the world. This is our history spine. And what can I say about the history of the world? We read it. We have not skipped any lessons planned around it or anything like that. But it's also not the most interesting thing in the world, which I really thought it would be. Because so many people, I've seen so many reviews and stuff where people talk about how interesting and engaging it is, and that hasn't necessarily been the case. It's not super boring. Some of the stories my kids do enjoy, and I am able to, not comprehend, but, we sort of get in the habit sometimes of reading and not even paying attention to what we're reading to our kids out loud because it's just what you're doing. But some of the stories do stick out my mind and stick with me more. So it's sort of hit or miss. 50% of the time when I pick this up to read a chapter from it or whatever, it's good and the kids seem engaged and they're listening. And then 50% of the time I can tell that, there's just blank faces and they do not care about the story that we're reading in the book. So sort of 50-50. We're still going to stick with it. I still think it's a valuable resource. But I definitely like reading more living books, like things we get from the library that are about specific people, maybe historical fiction we enjoy more of than this. All right, this represents our nature journal, or our nature journals. Nature journaling, that's another thing that I won't even pretend. We haven't done that for a few weeks. I really want to do nature journaling this year, but for some reason, let me start here. My kids don't enjoy it. And to be honest, I don't enjoy it. And I really thought that we would because we are outside a lot. We are surrounded by mountains and forests, and we live on a farm, and we're outside all the time. And I really thought that would be a natural integration to include a nature journal, but it's not. It actually feels really forced now when I try to do the nature journal. And what I've realized is that we have always done nature study. It's just never been a formal thing. And for some reason, when I pull out these notebooks and I pull out our field guides and say, let's go nature journaling, my kids just balk at the idea of it. And I do too. For some reason, it makes it feel really formal, even though I try to keep it really low key. For some reason, it just gives us that feeling and we just don't like it and we're all balking and nobody wants to do it. Especially if I try to schedule it in. Nature studies is just sort of more of a way of life for us versus a formal subject. And I've just come to accept that, and that's okay. And every once in a while, my kids do pull out this notebook and they feel inspired and they want to draw something that they've seen or discovered outside. And that has worked better than mom saying, all right, guys, get your nature journals. Come on, let's go outside. Like, no, it just doesn't work that way. So we just do a lot of nature studies in life right now. Like right now, the black walnut trees are dropping their walnuts like crazy right now, and we as a whole family have learned a lot about black walnuts because we are gathering them, we are de-hulling them, we learned about how they stay in our hands, and how nutritious they are, and have hard they are to crack into, and then my husband also wants to sell some, and so the kids are going to have been helping him gather the black walnuts and learning about their different properties and what makes them valuable, and we're going to make medicine from them and eat them on salads. And just as an example about how we sort of do nature study in our day-to-day life, and a formal nature study just doesn't work for us currently right now. But we do have our field guides and things to reference if we do find things as we're playing outside. We can identify or look things up online. And that's what we've always done, and we'll just continue to do. Now, on the subject of science, we have been using Real Science Odyssey, Life Level 1. And as I mentioned in my curriculum video, this is a completely secular homeschool science curriculum. And this has been really valuable. I was nervous about picking this up because I'm not always great with hands-on stuff and making the time to do that. But this has been good. I like that it's a mix between really simple labs and then also some worksheets, but the worksheets they're so simple and they usually go along with the simple lab. So we're just filling stuff out as we're doing things, and the lessons in here are really simple and short and not super extensive, which works for us. So right now we're doing human bodies. I think we've moved past the circulatory system, the respiratory system, and now we're on the digestive system. And so, for example, we did this earlier this week. I drew pictures of a nose, lung, heart, legs, and then we got our math counters, and we got red counters to represent oxygen and blue counters to represent carbon dioxide. And we just kind of played with this cycle between, you know, how you breathe in and it provides energy to your limbs, and then you breathe out and that's the waste. And we just did a fun tabletop activity, and it's been great. So we do that 1 to 2 times a week, and the kids seem to really enjoy that. Another thing that we do, or the kids do, is these illustrative journals, and these have been working out very well as well. What they do is, while I'm reading, usually while I'm doing our literature reading or history reading from Story of the World, I have the kids just draw what comes to mind as they're listening to me read. So whatever they latch onto from the story that I'm reading, I want them to draw a picture of it. So this morning, my 6-year-old drew a picture of King Hatshepsut. I think that's how you say the name, I'm not sure. The Egyptian King Hatshepsut, which was actually a woman. And so she drew the woman king right here. And then, let me give you an example of my 9-year-old, because I love their drawings that they do. She just wanted to draw a generalized picture of Egypt with the River Nile running through it, which was gorgeous. I love the different colors she did. So, I just call this illustrative narration, because then they tell me what their pictures are about when I'm done reading. And it's a way to keep their hands busy, but also keep them focused on the story. And that's been working. So we've been doing that as well. Now, an update on Grammar Island. This has been good. I was a little nervous about starting this because there's not much guidance when it comes to this at all. So you kind of have to figure out your own schedule and what pace you want to move along. But we've read through the entire Grammar Island book. And we did, a lot of review. And it was just a lot of reading and discussion. No pencils, no paper, nothing like that. So me and my 9-year-old, I should have clarified, it's just my 9-year-old is doing grammar. Read that, and for the first, up until last week, all we did was read a little Grammar Island every day, discuss it, and talk about it, and talk about the talking points they give you in here, and that was it. Once we finished that, last week we moved on to Practice Island, which this is just my teacher's copy that gives me the answers. But what this is just breaking down sentences. And for the first 25 sentences, they just want you to focus on the parts of speech. And then next we'll focus on parts of a sentence, then phrases, then clauses. So this is practice. Everything that we've read here is being put into practice. And we just do 2 sentences a day. I want to keep it really light. And so far, the Grammar Island really seemed to work and help things stick in her head because she is doing very well with breaking down her sentences and her parts of speech in Practice Island. So far, Grammar Island, it's a winner. Now, what's another thing? Handwriting, we're still working in our workbooks. My 6-year-old finished her other book B, so I just ordered her the same book because, she didn't need to move on to C yet. That's cursive, and she's only 6, and I really want her to get a solid grasp of basic handwriting first. So I just ordered her another book B, and she's been doing great. Her handwriting has improved significantly over last year, and I just expect that it will continue to improve. And yeah, when we finish this, I might just order another book B, just because seeing how much she's improved going through it a second time, we'll just keep going through it until I feel she's ready to move on to cursive. Now, speaking of cursive, my 9-year-old has been working diligently every day in her cursive book. And again, I still love these Getty Dubé workbooks. And then here's some of her cursive. And I have no complaints. We're going to keep using it. It's been wonderful. Now, for math, my 6-year-old has finished this just simple workbook that I wanted her to go back and practice because math kind of felt like a flop last year in kindergarten. And then I realized, she was pretty young. She was a young 5-year-old when we started. So this kind of feels like an in-between kindergarten, first grade thing that we're doing here. But she finished that. And so now we have started again in Right Start. And oh my goodness, let me just say that I'm so glad we took the break from this and just went back to really simple, basic stuff. Because now that we've come back to it, we jumped in around lesson 20. And some days we've done 2 lessons a day just because I can see so much improvement over last year whenever it really felt like a little bit more of a struggle to understand some of the really basic concepts in this. So now that she's using it this year, though, she has been doing great. That year of growth and just taking, 6 months of a break and just putting math on the back burner and then doing the simple workbook has really just helped her. And just the maturity that's taken place has helped her a lot. And I can tell now that she is ready for Right Start Math Level A. And she's been doing great in that. As far as my 9-year-old, she's still using her Right Start and she's been doing great in that as well. That's been all great. So this has gotten a little beat up. This actually happened this morning. Made me kind of sad, but it happens. For the last thing, we're still working through the reading lesson. We finished up lesson 7 this morning and have moved on to lesson 8, or we're going to move on to lesson 8 tomorrow. And my 6-year-old can now read stories that have simple words like this. So her reading has continued to improve. We're still using this. We had to take a break from this last year, and I think I mentioned in my curriculum video that we had been using this and it was going okay and we were just kind of skipping around. But just in the past month, it's really clicked with her, and she has enjoyed this so much more than when we started it last year. So again, just a maturity thing, I think, because now we are moving forward very steadily, whereas before we kept having to cycle back and do a lot of practice. And now she is just moving forward like nobody's business. So that's a homeschool update. That's mostly positive, I think. A few things, were kind of about, but most of the stuff we've stuck with and enjoyed. The kids are still doing their reading game and then their Spanish game. My 9-year-old does a Spanish app. My 6-year-old does Teach Your Monster to Read. I'm looking at my board over here to make sure I'm remembering everything. We still read poetry, and they do really well with their poetry memorization. Still do copy work and vocab with my 9-year-old. That's still rolling. So overall, we've stuck with some stuff. I think I mentioned before we weren't doing a formal art curriculum, and we still aren't, other than maybe studying architecture and stuff of the places that we're studying in history. So pyramids and some ancient art we'll be moving through and maybe trying some techniques. But I did want to share these recent art projects that my kids did. They love clay, and so we've been playing a lot with clay. So I guess that's been our art recently. And so this is my 9-year-old's. And then this is my 6-year-old's. And what these are just, they wanted to make little goddesses. So that's what they made. And we painted and glazed them. And I love them. So that's it. That's our update. Again, mostly positive, not too much negative there. And we just keep rolling, like full steam ahead. We're just going to keep rolling until their sibling comes, because we're going to have a baby next month. And then, I don't know, I'll have to post another update about what that's like, trying to homeschool with a newborn-ish baby, because we are going to take a break for sure, but eventually we're going to have to get back to it, and I have no idea what that's going to look like. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching our update. Maybe, I don't know, getting some suggestions. If you have any suggestions for me, I'd be more than happy to hear them. Any thoughts or anything about what we're doing, or questions and whatever. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all again soon.